To bag a big-time trophy, send a well-trained predator. Here's your look at the new Hiya toys, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, the exquisite mini of Unmasked Wolf Predator. Exquisite Mini is a new standard setting series for 1/18 scale, featuring super articulation action figures under Hiya Toys. While Wolf is having problems hunting down a hybrid, I'd like to thank the folks over at Hiya Toys that did make this review possible by sending over the Aliens vs. Predator Requiem Unmasked Wolf Predator that we can have a look at in this video. Now grabbing the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. Taking it right to the very top of Wolf's head, you're looking at a figure that's 3 3/4 of an inch in height, and that works out to be a figure that's going to be roughly 19.5 centimeters tall. As for the figure's accessories, Wolf comes included with the same display stand that we've already been well familiar with all this time. You got sort of the steel floor grating here. Not really something I would be saying is suitable for a character like Wolf Predator, being that most of his time is spent actually on Earth. I think giving him a more muddier terrain would have been better suited. This seems to me like something I would expect to see from an alien. No bother, there still is a peg there that can attach to the underside of the figure's feet, which we will do in a second. One thing also comes included with these, if you are not in the know, let me bring you in the know. You get these eye brackets. These eye brackets slot in here. They slot in here, and you get the idea. Those slot in place. And the idea is that if you have multiple stands, you can connect them together and build a bigger diorama. I always like the fact that Hiya Toys do that. Short of the fact, again, I don't think this stand really suits a character like Wolf. I would have given him either grassy terrain, which I don't think we actually have yet for Hiya Toys, or most commonly the easy go-to. I would just give him a muddy terrain instead. Anyways, put that to the side. Oh, I did actually promise. You can take the figure's feet. He does have 2 peg holes on the undersides of both. Simply just attach the figure onto the display stand. And one thing it does do is it keeps things consistent. If you already have most of your Hiya Toy figures on display anyways on their stands, then you're just continuing following suit. This also gives you somewhat of a dioramic, like I said, unless you plan to expand more so. I mean, even just the space, the square footage that you have to work with still gives you a nice way of displaying the figure too. And it also helps too if you want to put him in more of a dynamic pose than having him just standing straight like I've currently got going right now. For the rest of the figure's accessories, the figure comes included with a staff, extended in this case, painted nicely here in silver with some additional kind of off brown, almost a bit more like a bronze or penny color. I guess the penny color is copper. It's slightly more bendable. This does fit into either one of his hands. Stock as it is right now. You can just pry the fingers away from the palm and go ahead and get the... Probably should not have done this on the side that actually has the Gauntlet Blades, but still, yeah, you can get the staff in his hands. The figure also comes included with the shuriken. Love these little shurikens. Always something more likely to be lost, but for the time that I have it, nicely painted here in silver. Mostly I'm guessing the paint color is just covered over top of black plastic, as it certainly seems like there's black plastic underneath this. But you get yourself a little Predator shuriken. One nice thing that comes included with Wolf as well is he comes included with the Yaucha chain whip. Now, this chain whip actually does clip onto his waist. Let's go ahead and just remove the spear for the time being. Just onto the side here, you'll see there's a little loop here on his belt. You can take the chain whip and just attach onto that. The thing about it, though, is, well, it does fit somewhat in place. Let me go ahead and just pick that up. At least it was dropped in a place where I recognize the location right away. It can also really, there's a little loop right here. See this little bar that sticks up a bit. You can actually put that inside the looplet too. That probably is the most secure way of attaching the whip. While I do like the idea that they would have included a whip rolled up like this, I still would have loved to see them actually include an extended whip, something I could have put actually into Wolf's hands. I mean, you can display it now with the chain whip, but for the obvious reasons of it already being rolled up, it doesn't look like it's going to be doing much of anything. It literally is just like rolled up. This is the first time that I think we're looking at the Wolf Predator. If there is a masked version, which I'm sure we will be looking at in a future video, maybe at some point they will be releasing this figure with the extended version of the chain whip. I like this. I just kind of wish there was an extended version of it as well. Put that to the side, and then finally the figure comes also included with a couple of gestured hands. Now, one of the hands actually is more dedicated to holding the shuriken. You can take the shuriken and sort of just wedge it in between the thumb and the pointer finger, I guess resting against the middle finger as well. And he's also got more of a gestured hand also as well. So we're going to move those out of the way, getting a closer look now at the unmasked wolf predator. I do like the look of this one quite a lot. One of the notable things about the wolf predator, not only is he a veteran hunter, but the fact that he seemed his proportions a little bit more lankier than some of the bigger, bulkier builds of predators we've gotten in the previous films. His limbs, as well as his torso, is more of a very thinner looking frame. The thing about it, though, is that they've added all these extra things to it, like this big bandolier. I do feel like the bandolier is perhaps a little too big for him. I mean, if I just pull this in just a little bit, that's closer, I think, to what I would have liked it to be. But they have all this extra excess. I'm not sure why they had to make it so big and bulky like this. It literally just hangs off of his body. As much as that hangs, one thing I also have problems with this figure, it's not even so much a problem because it's also something I could remove as well, is he has the little bracelet, that's not a bracelet, that's a necklace, a little necklace of skulls you can see wrapped around his neck. Now, the thing about it, though, is I feel it's too close to his neck and doesn't drape far enough down. So it adds additional bulk to the top of his neck, and it also makes things a lot more difficult when it comes to rotating his head back and forth. So I think I might just ultimately pop this head off and remove the necklace altogether. And it's, first of all, going to make him a little leaner looking, at least in the neck area. And then maybe what I might just do is pull this back just a little bit. Yeah, that definitely looks a lot better. I'm going to talk a little bit about his face also more in a second. One other thing that also goes along with Wolf's design is the fact that he does have dual plasma casters. You can see them right there. One has a much larger tank here on the back of his torso. One is the more familiar, smaller looking plasma caster shouldered cannon. And like I said, he's got two variations. Well, not two variations. The cannons are pretty much the same, but certainly what's different, though, is the backpacks on the back of his torso. I like the coloring also that they've added to this, too. Now, going and getting a closer look at Wolf Predator. Now, Wolf Predator has some scarring going for him. You can see, first of all, he is missing one of his tusks from the side of his face. That's broken right off. Also, one thing that's notable as well is the fact he does have what seems like a blind eye on the one side. Other than that, though, I mean, like, it's a very traditional-looking predator, but he's definitely a lot leaner-looking predator. He's got his dreads, which are all made of softer strands of plastic. They're not the easiest. At times, they do get in the way of things, especially now when you're dealing to contend with two plasma casters on both the sides. But, yeah, those are nicely done as well. I think, like, the coloring on the face is really good. There's just a little hue of green that's added just off to the side. Otherwise, it's more of a lighter lemon yellow. And then he's got all these nice little spots there on the top of his head. It's a really nicely painted figure. The rest of his body is sort of constructed in the same way as what we would expect from almost like Jungle Hunter. He's got like the little loincloth down below. All these little things, again, all around his body that he ends up using in battle. Softer plastic, so you're not going to have to worry about that at all when it comes to the figure's articulation. And again, some nice silver being added to his body. The colors to his body, again, stick to that same more yellow and a little bit of green. And then you've got these nice little lines, almost little stripes that he's got off to the side of his torso and running down the side of his leg as well. For the articulation here on Unmasked Wolf Predator, his head rotates back and forth, but as I already mentioned, you're going to have a little more of a problem here just because the necklace is really, really close to the bottom of his head. Again, I think I'm going to just remove that altogether. I probably could easily find another necklace that came included with one of the Hiya Toys Predators, one that sits maybe just a little bit lower. Yank the head off, replace this with one of those necklaces instead. But yeah, that is going to give you a little more limitations when it comes to his head. You can't really move the head up and down too much, more so just back and forth. There is technically as well articulation here for each of the individual plasma casters. There's a peg right there that allows this not only to move back and forth this way, but there's also a ball joint here on each one of these, so you can rotate them also out as well, so you can get those dual shots hitting the xenomorphs on either side of him. Upper torso is on a ball joint. The lower torso, in addition, also is on a ball joint. Arms do come out easily, I would say, at a 90-degree angle bend. You can take the arms and rotate them all the way around. Although this one's going to be a little bit harder because he's got the big shoulder pad here. But the shoulder pad is actually attached not to the torso, but attached to the shoulder instead. Figure has a bicep swivel. Figure has also a double hinge on the elbow. It's really nice that they actually are putting double hinge elbows on such small figures like this. Hands rotate back and forth. Did we even talk about the fact that he does have the Gauntlet Blades? These Gauntlet Blades do extend out and push in. Not a lot, but it's certainly something I had to notice and point out to you guys. These ones are actually a little more on the warp side. You can see the way they fanned out like this. I would probably just heat this up just a little bit so I can bring those blades a little bit more closer together. As for the legs do split out. You can see underneath there's the ball joint working behind the scenes, so you can bring the legs forward just a little bit though, and bring them back only by that much. Figure has a double hinge on the knee, and figure also does have ankle pivot. Did we spend any bit of time talking about Wolf's feet? If we didn't, that's what they look like right there. And of course, already mentioned the figure does have peg holes on the undersides of his feet. Really nice looking figure. Not as crazy, admittingly, about Wolf Predator in the film. He again comes across a little too lean, a little too aged, and I don't want to say decrepit. He certainly doesn't seem decrepit, but he's definitely more of a veteran Yautja. And I gotta say, translates really well here as a 3 3/4 inch figure from the folks over at Hiya Toys. Still would like to get my hands eventually on a masked version of Wolf Predator, and they have just recently released the Pred Alien. Another figure, super excited to have a look at. Big work, nice job done, I should say, from the folks over at Hiya Toys, giving us a decent looking Wolf Predator. Short of the things I did mention though, with his bandolier being slightly on a bigger, baggier side, and then his necklace being the complete opposite to that. I think they've done a really nice job here on the unmasked Wolf Predator. For me, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, or AVPR for short, was just an okay Predator sequel. The only thing really memorable about the film is the same thing everybody points out as well. Oh, it's the Predator movie that features the Pred Alien? If you were to take the Pred Alien out of that film and simply just had a veteran Predator on Earth fighting aliens, then it would even be an even more forgettable film. One thing that's good, at least, about the Wolf Predator is, for the first time, really, we have a veteran Predator in the battlefield, hunting and collecting his prey. I mean, up to that point, we've already had kind of inexperienced Predators coming to Earth and sort of learning their traits as they go along. But you've got Wolf Predator not only fully equipped, but years of the hunt behind him. What a better suitable Yautja to be battling the likes of a Pred Alien for the first time ever on screen. It's a shame that we never really got a follow-up where we ever got any more appearances of these altered aliens, in the sense that they mixed them with other breeds. Of course, we always have aliens mixed with dogs, and aliens, of course, mixed with the obvious humans. But it was for the first time and only time we ever had an alien mixed with another alien species, at least on film. And the Pred Alien, again, is one of the most memorable things about the movie, and everything else, like, kind of just draw a bit of a blur to. I gotta say, though, at least from a figure standpoint, Hiya Toys does deliver a really nice looking Wolf Predator. Something I think I still would rather prefer to get in a masked version, but I gotta think, like, all the rest of it actually comes together rather nicely. He comes equipped like he does in the film with dual plasma casters on both his shoulders. Comes with a spear, comes with a shuriken, and it comes with a bit of a disappointing rolled up whip. Not disappointing in the sense that he comes included with it, but just more the fact that I wanted an extended version of the whip that I can put into his hand. Maybe down the road, a future release will deliver that. A nice looking figure, though, from the folks over at Hiya Toys. What do you guys think of Wolf Predator Unmasked? Certainly weigh in your thoughts and let me know down below in the comments section. And in also the meantime, I'd like to thank the folks over at Hiya Toys that did provide the sample of the Wolf Predator Unmasked that we can have a look at in this video. For your video question for today, what did you think was the most disappointing Predator film? It doesn't even have to be a standalone Predator film. You could also include AVP and AVPR as well. What's your least favorite Predator film? Even though I thought that AVPR was a little too dark and hard to make out at times, I think I would still award The Predator as the worst Predator film, at least in my own honest opinion. Agree with me? Disagree with me? Let me know down below in the comments section your worst favorite Predator film, or worst Predator film. I guess your favorite worst Predator film. You get the idea. If you enjoyed this video, why not hit it with a like? If you're loving the content you're seeing and certainly want to stick around for more, then hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification. Keep your peepers peeled, because while we have wrapped up the review for the Unmasked Wolf Predator, there will be other Hiya Toys reviews coming your way in the not so distant future, even though it always takes place on Earth. Come on, seriously, we got to do an AVP somewhere out in space. Really, for reals. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.